What's up, ladies? Welcome back.
What's up, Kaylani?
I cannot with y'all today. Hey everybody, welcome back. It is That's What She Said Wednesday. Let me see what we got going on. Who's here? John already in the chat. It's time for the best hour on Wednesday. Hi, John. Thank you for always tuning in with us every single Wednesday. We do this for fun and really just to talk about all the things that we wish we would have known sooner. Welcome back. I am really excited about today's topic, so we can just dive right in. We're talking about the price of fame today, and I am really excited because it took me a minute to really fully understand this topic, because there was a point in time, if you guys don't know how Patty and I met, it was on Clubhouse, and this whole entire topic brought me back to that time. And if you guys don't know anything about the Clubhouse era, during the pandemic, everybody was sitting at home and we all got invited to this app called Clubhouse. And this app is one that entirely changed my life, but it really introduced me to internet gurus for the first time. Now, I knew they existed, especially in the real estate space. Like, we all know about the Grant Cardones of the world and like the supermarketers, but I did not realize there was this whole other just like demographic of people that were dying to go viral in every way possible, right? And so I remember Patty and I becoming friends, and she was she saw right through the vanity of that time period for us and all of the people so quick. And here we are years later, and we look back and we see who really stood on what they said that they were about. And honestly, most didn't. So anyway, so if you guys haven't figured it out yet, today our theme is the price of fame and understanding fortune over fame and why that's our motto. But, that's just how I think. That's not necessarily the right way to approach this topic. So that's what we're talking about. Any initial thoughts before I bring on our fourth for today, ladies? Patty, why was this something that you thought of when I asked about what we should talk about today?
I mean, because I think that a lot of times there's a bit of a misconception when you see people that are doing what we're doing, starting a podcast or getting together to talk openly and publicly about what we believe in and what we wish we knew when we were younger. And it was just one of the things that came to mind, because I think that whether you're in business or you maybe even dating, whatever your goal is, what's happening is, that if you expand your network, then you're going to grow. And I think that some people kind of, really drink their own Kool-Aid when it comes to moments or spurts of having popularity, like what you mentioned at Clubhouse, where we were on these stages and people were looking at us thinking we were the best thing next to sliced bread. And I was just like, girl, we are just a couple of human beings trying to figure it out. And there were two types of people. There was the type like myself who just was like quiet to myself and spoke when I needed to, and, didn't seek out the fame. And then there were people that capitalized and preyed upon the, group that were listeners, right? If you go from having I had like 1,500 followers or something like that, maybe 4,000 or something when I started on Clubhouse, and I have like 15,000 now. And I never did anything, I think, stereotypical to grow or expand or monetize that. It was actually the period of time that grew that caused me to hate the word monetization, because everyone says, how do you monetize? How do you monetize? How do you monetize? And I think the reason why I was repelled by that statement is because when I'm looking at people, I'm not looking at them as an opportunity to monetize, right? I'm looking at them as a group of human beings in a community that we're serving. Different mindsets. So when you think about fame, a lot of times, I mean, since, 2012 or 2013, I've been saying on the internet, it's documented on Twitter, that I believe in fortune over fame, because fame is something that can be short-lived. But in the new school, there is a different mindset. People like Alex Hormozi and people who have had a tremendous amount of success with ClickFunnels and things of that nature, with internet marketing, understand that fame is what propels you. So, and the example that Alex Hormozzi uses that was a game-changing pivotal moment for him was Kylie Jenner, because he saw that Kylie Jenner became a billionaire by just basically promoting a product to a group of followers and people that followed her. And it was because of her fame that she was propelled into a high status of a billionaire with wealth. And so there is an argument that opposes the idea that I have that fortune is greater than fame. And that is that for many people, that if you can gain popularity and fame, it could take you to a new level. So what are your goals? How can you manage that thought process? How do you balance this idea of wanting to grow your followers and expand your network without buying too much of the hype and drinking your own Kool-Aid?
Mm-hmm. That's what we're here to talk about. Jade, any initial thoughts from you before we dive in?
No, we could just go ahead and dive in because I come from the world of entertainment, so there's pretty much nothing I haven't seen. People, it's been a lot. I'll just say that, and I'll get into more of those details, I guess. But I do want to go ahead and bring this on so that he can kind of chime in or whatever, and then I'll have my 2 cents. But I've seen the fortune side, I've seen the fame side, I've seen it work, I've seen it not work.
Yeah.
And it's a very thin line that you have to tread. I will say that. And yes, I do agree with what Patty says that fame can propel you, but it depends on the foundation that it's built on. If it's inauthentic, I believe that fame will actually expose you. And that's the side of fame that people don't understand. When you become famous, when people know who you are, every follower you gain, every subscriber, every person that purchases your product, now you're opening yourself up to more and more scrutiny. In the world that we live in cancel culture. Everybody that's cheering for you are not supporters. Some of them are fans, and as we know, fans waver. But we'll jump into all that stuff later on. So
yeah, definitely. Now I'm excited for this conversation because I feel like I have really strong opinions about this because I know what my own limits and what I am willing and not willing to do. So I'm actually really excited. So first things first, Nasima is burning the midnight oil. She was last night and then she will be again tonight. So we're letting our girl get some rest today. So Nasima, when you watch this, we love you. We miss you. And I'm also excited to bring on somebody new to the show. So last week was our first time bringing anybody onto our platform. And it was so well received. It's probably my favorite episode that we had done to this day, I guess. And not that we have very many, but we're going to follow suit because having that difference in, voice is really helpful. And so today, to follow this theme, I invited somebody on that I thought would have a really, really cool perspective. So I want to just introduce you to him really quickly. I'm going to make him blush and make him nervous before he even gets on here. But guys, I want to introduce you to my friend Rome Green Jr. Guys, welcome Rome. He is a North Carolina native. He's cultivated a dynamic career as an entertainer, entrepreneur, creative director, and writer. And while he's become a familiar source of comic relief to millions of viewers, especially on YouTube, in both original and commercial content, Rome is rapidly expanding his influence in the realms of personal development and creative consulting. So he's got a fast-growing newsletter, just like Patty does. He shares nuggets of wisdom from his own personal growth journey. And then Rome also lends his superpowers in storytelling, ideation, and dot connecting. So, guys, please welcome Rome Green Jr. Hey.
Rome Green Jr., the whole name.
Come on, man. Rome Green Jr.
What's the middle name? Let us know. Let's get it right. What's the middle name? He
See,
got that out.
You know what? I'm going to give y'all, some people know this, but I'm just give y'all the real. My full name is Stevie Jerome Green Jr. So I go by Rome Green Jr. I got to college and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be different. I'm going to just be Rome. And then it just stuck. Yeah.
I did. So in school, before you started going by Rome, did they used to call you Jerome?
No, they just called me Stevie. My first name. They just called me Stevie.
Oh, so they actually used to call you Steve. Oh, okay. So you tried. Rome is the sexier name.
I got away. I was like, you know what? I'm in college now. I'm out here. I'm doing my thing. I'm gonna go ride Rome. Exactly. So yeah.
Well, good. Well, welcome on. So Rome, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, I tried to introduce you as best I could, but I don't feel like that fully encompasses like.
Oh man.
Tell us a little bit.
I would say, so I was raised in North Carolina, born in Germany, moved around a lot. My parents in the military. So I've seen a lot of the world. I love to travel and things of that nature. I got to college, met a fine group of young gentlemen who are all on the same wave, same path, and we formed a production company called Dormtainment, and we went on to do a lot of videos. We were doing a sketch every Sunday for 4 years straight, like just every Sunday dropping sketches. Then at the time, World Star was big, so we got on World Star. That went viral. So early viral, like 2009, 10 viral. Then we kept getting the following from YouTube. One of our videos was called Straight Out of Dunwoody, which was a parody of Straight Outta Compton. And it was about how nice our neighborhood was. That got on the Atlanta news, and then it got on NBC Today show, and that brought in a lot of viewers as well. We amassed, over 1 million plus followers. We had a couple seasons of a show with Comedy Central, worked with Kevin Hart, all the people. So I've been in entertainment a little minute, and it's been fun. But it also has been a lot, as this subject we'll dive into. And but now I started my creative agency this year, and we are soft launching come here in November, and I'm super excited about it. So yeah.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
for real.
So, I
Okay.
mean, have you been to those white parties?
Absolutely.
I'm just
You
gonna
know what?
like, which
It's
room were
funny.
you in though?
It's funny. I definitely never was at the only party that I was close to going to was like a Chris Brown party when I was like 25, and then I didn't even stay long for that. So that's about the only big party I went to. I would say that, yeah, no, I stayed away from those white parties.
Yeah. Dang.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Right. Hilarious. Okay, so like, what's our take? I think, do you need fame or influence to be profitable? I mean, for me, the obvious answer is a big no. I feel like if I never got another follower, if I reached the income goal, the revenue goal that I was after, I feel like you wouldn't even be able to find me. I would fall off the face of the planet. I don't even know that I would have social media. Like, I think maybe 5 people would have my phone number,
Yeah.
So I guess my
Just
question
for the
is,
record, I don't believe anybody that says that. A lot of people say that, but just for the record,
Mhm.
I don't believe anybody that says that. But I guess we'll get to that.
but then like, what reason would you have to keep it, right? Like, is that just my ego because I want to flex when I'm popping out and like show that I'm certain places with certain people? At that point, I don't want those problems, right? Like, I really don't. I don't think I want that. I'm pretty positive I don't.
It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like when it comes to like fame, do you need it? Need is such a strong word. I feel like it helps, but I think it's even deeper than that. I think it's intention of the fame, right? And so I think there's a quote that I love that says, when you're thirsty, don't reach for the glass, reach for the shovel. And it talks about how you go deep first before you just reach for the glass of water. Because if you just reach for a glass, you'll continue to be thirsty. But you reach for the shovel, you'll hit the well and you'll get all the water you want. So I think when it comes to fame, I think when people get into certain things, like when we got into production and stuff, we did it because we had the shovel. We was like, we want to dig deep on these videos. We want to know the science of videos and doing all this stuff like that. And fame is just a byproduct of. When you have something that's a byproduct of, I think it's better than me going into it like, you know what? Like everybody on Pop the Balloon, they going onto it to get a viral moment, so they can be famous, but they have no plan. It's just I'm just gonna go in here and say some wild stuff and show up, and I think that's where it gets messy. So I think it's all intention when it comes to fame, because I think there's good fame, but I think there's messy fame if your intention's not right. That's kind of how I can see it.
Right, I agree. It's the foundation that is built on. So I do want to ask you this then. So think about your life before, and maybe everybody on here can answer that. What was your life before people knew who Rome Green Jr. was, right? And because I think the reality that people don't discuss is the not so great side of popularity, of fame, right? Let's talk about, what does that look like for you? Because before you know, you could walk up the street, nobody really knew who you were. It was no big deal. You know, you could go to the Chris Brown party if you wanted to. You know, it wasn't, you didn't have as much to lose. So let's talk about
Mhm.
the reality that a lot of people don't realize when you get over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. And now how does life look different for you?
Yeah, I think it's hidden cost to everything, right? So it's, people are so excited. I want you guys know about this a lot. I can't wait to move into my house, and then the fees, and then the maintenance, and, all the things you have to deal with. So it's the hidden cost. So like for me, I remember where it really hit me, which was kind of weird. We had a show at Howard in DC, packed, super packed show. I'm super excited about doing it. And then after the show, it was complete and utter mayhem. And I just wanted to get out of there. Like, and this is not, it just sounds funny to me because I'm like, we wasn't like Michael Jackson, but I have to remember that the internet is a wide place. Like, so many people see you. So like girls were just like grabbing our clothes and like, where you guys going next? Where you going? Hey, take my note. And it was like mayhem. And I know somebody might be like, oh my God, you had girls grabbing at you. But until you in a situation when your bubble is bursting and you uncomfortable, it don't feel right. It don't feel right. And then what we were talking about, kind of like everything is under a microscope now. So now when you say something, it's like, am I saying this from my truest feelings, or am I saying this just to like go back and retype it and make sure it looks nice for whatever I'm doing? And that's the part that people don't really see. Like, yes, when you ain't got nothing to lose, you on there talking crazy, like, oh yeah, we saying whatever. But then when you do have something to lose, you're like, oh shoot, that tweet just messed up my $10,000 deal that I thought I was gonna have, but now I don't. So I think that's the hidden cost of it. And that's just from a entertainment side. I kind of want to hear from you guys. I know everybody's in different fields. Like, what's it look like for you? Like when it comes to the fame of it or the popularity.
Well, I want to address what you said initially about the distinction between the intention. And I think what you just described is how popularity infringes upon your lifestyle. And I think that, we hear that from high level celebrities and everything, like, damn, I just wish I can go to Whole Foods, right? Like, and you had that level of experience with the internet is crazy. I'll tell you, for me, that's the same thing. I walk into a setting and people know about me. Oh, you cook so good. You do this, that. I'm like, damn, I never see you interacting with me online, but you're already watching, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I can understand that even at a local small level, those things occur. So I can't even imagine what it's like for all of you guys. But I think what you talked about the intention is something we should talk about more, in particular for our audience, because what you're saying is that, in the beginning, are you intending, I think that two things. Recently, I had a thought. I've been thinking a lot about this as I've been examining a gentleman by the name of Matt Gray online, because he makes about a $1.1 million a month in revenue. He works 2-3 days a week. You know who I'm talking about, it sounds like. And he talks about this, and there's a very organized approach, because I went down the rabbit hole to understand what they're doing. And here's the thing: if you are intending to be robotic in nature online and extremely poised, then you want to implement a system that just naturally gets people to gravitate towards a content machine. Then you have this intent that you're building a system and it's separate from your person. In different communities, the intention is different, because most people would gain popularity or fame through being controversial. And then what you're mentioning is, if you're being controversial because that gets a reaction, and if your intent is to have that one viral video that takes your following to the next level, then you're operating at a whole different scale. It's not systematic. You're looking at for what's hot and you're constantly chasing that. It's almost like a dope fiend chasing a regular high, or that first high. So the thought that I had this week, it's interesting. I had this thought. I was just randomly thinking that, how would a rapper's life or any musician's life change if their advance wasn't given to them up front, but maybe on the third release? How would the music be different? because once they got the money, because they gained whatever local popularity and they got that deal and they released an album, and maybe I don't know how this works, but when they released that first, you know how that second and third album just never hit like the first? And there's because there's
Yeah.
that hunger, like you were saying, I had to change things up. I have to watch what I'm saying. I think about Hove when he said, I can't offend my political connects, right? So you reach a certain level. So what does it take to remain in that authentic space? Now, to answer your question, I like to live in that space. I like to stay that space. I think you should be above average and below the radar. That's my thought. Because once you're on the radar, it really becomes difficult to operate within your authentic self, because what's happening is your income, we're all incentivized as human beings. That's what survival of the fittest is about. So when I wake up in the morning, I go to the gym, I'm incentivized to feel younger and stronger and look better, right? And then if I'm not coming into this office dealing with this level of stress that I'm dealing with, because if the check was smaller than it was, I would not be here, right? So we're incentivized. Our behavior is driven by incentives. So then if you are getting sources of dopamine hits in the form of income through a certain level of behavior, you're going to have to maintain that performance. And I think that's when the price of fame becomes too high.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just like NFL players, right? There's a stigma about NFL players and big contracts because they're on their rookie contract. Oh man, they balling, like they get into it. Then the big contract comes and you're like, man, he throwing interceptions left and right. What's wrong with my man?
First of all, I know you talk about Dak, and I'm feeling offended, even though I agree right now.
I'm not talking about Dak, but if the shoe be fitting sometimes, No, but this happens with multiple people. And I'm like, man, if this happens a lot of times, what is that? And like she just said, like it's that level of comfortability has set in. And it's like, all right, well, I got my bread. Maybe I don't need to practice that extra hour I was practicing before. Maybe I don't need, and that's what fame can do to people. It can be like you said, those albums come in. That first album, oh, people love me. I'm okay, cool. When I go back in for that second album, it's like, oh, I'm already famous, so they should follow me. But followers don't equal influence sometimes.
Right.
Like it don't equal that sometimes. And that's the issue. Like you can be an influencer and non-influential. And that's the issue. Like you're not converting because you're not really holding value like you once were, because before you were really in it, in the grind, you were relating to people. And then now you're like, it's not really hitting like it used to. I don't really have that same measure that I used to. So I think that's an interesting thing, because there's some type of energy behind when you become famous and become comfortable in that fame, how that affects your art or whatever that thing may be.
Yeah. So if we like back it up a little bit and you think about, because we have this conversation a lot in Wire, and people are always asking like, how do I grow my brand? How do I get more followers? How do I create this like awareness around, what I do? And at the end of the day, social media is not the only way to build a brand or to make money, right? Yeah. And so to Patty's earlier point, she was saying like, okay, do you have a mechanism essentially that exists to capture your lead, your audience, and monetize them so that the persona that you share online is really strictly for that business? Well, I think a lot of people have access to TikTok and social media and viral moments, but most people don't have access to the information and the education on how to create those mechanisms and products and things like that. So people are chasing, like they think if I can do anything, I can make content, I can go viral, I can do those things. So I think my question then becomes, why do people chase that versus chasing the monetization? And is it that they're chasing fame for monetization, or are they chasing fame for fame? And that's the part that I'm really trying to I've been digging deep a lot lately, thinking about, okay, so if social media never existed, if Jade, we can talk directly to you, you've got, I don't know, 300 and something thousand followers, right? And that you've built organically over the course of your career in media, right? Organically. And your audience is super, super engaged. If that didn't exist, right, how would you continue to monetize or build your brand without the public persona that's seen on social media? I guess is my question.
I mean, I guess the answer would be, I'm really not sure, But back to your original question of like, are people chasing the fame for the fame, or are they chasing the fame for the monetization? I think two things can be true. Fame and attention is a drug. And once you get a taste of it, it's hard to let that go. That's why I always talk about the village, right? You got to have people around you that are going to remind you, number one, who you are, also whose you are. Because when all of this is said and done, the moment that I sent my resignation letter to the radio station, I had to step away, and I had to have people around me to remind me that I'm still Jade outside of this big brand that was behind me, right? But I will also say, you have to remember, okay, Patty, you talked earlier about how when you first started on Clubhouse, you only had 1,500 followers. Now you have over 15,000. Here's the thing. No matter how much we don't want to get caught up in it, no matter how regular we want to be, no matter how, authentic and humble and remaining who we authentically are, we say, if you post something and it goes crazy, and now this time you got 500 likes, the next time you post, you are comparing that last post to the one that got 500. And then there's something inside of you that says, well, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? How did I? Because they have created this machine it's like this dopamine, like you said, they keeps being pumped into us, and it's hard to pull away from it. And so that is why it's important to pull away from it, to step outside of it, to actually put your phone down, get off social media, not post, and go hang out with family and friends and become a human being again, right? And to continue to you use the shovel example earlier, Rome, where you were talking about digging for a well. Well, I would say, when you dig, you should be able to dig for roots. And we have to remember what we are rooted in. And don't get it twisted, y'all. I've always had a lot of pride when it comes to like, I'm just Jade, like I'm regular, whatever the case may be. But I also have to admit, when I stepped away from radio and I didn't have that title behind me, like I had to find a definition within myself, because I didn't know that I had lost myself within this, defining myself as this, big nationally syndicated radio personality, right? And so it caused me a little bit of like questioning who I am, like, who am I? And it's like, nah, the problem wasn't who I was. I knew who I was. The problem was my inability to be able to hype myself up to other people so that they called me qualified. Right. And I think that that's what the world that we're in right now, we are constantly trying to qualify ourselves to other people. Think about it when you go to networking events. The entire time, you literally cannot wait to tell them either how many followers you have, what your title is, how much revenue you produce, how many, lots you bought that year, because that is the way that the outside world says you're good enough for me to communicate with, for me to be in this room with. And we have to remember, that is not the qualification, right? But it is hard, you guys. So when we do have those moments where we find ourselves living for the approval of everybody else, I mean, we kind of got to sit back and really check ourselves and be honest with ourselves about that.
I'm going to have to take it back 14 sentences. So when you said if you didn't have that platform on Instagram, you don't know what you would be doing. I'll tell you what you'd be doing. You'd be selling real estate, flipping real estate, and buying.
Oh yeah, I'll be doing that too. I mean, I am doing that. Yeah.
Exactly. The point is you are so much beyond that. But the beauty of what you talked about goes back to the point I think Rome was making and we started with, is that you had the platform as a byproduct. You monetizing a platform as a byproduct of your labor is not an issue. But for someone on here to listen and say, I'm going to go on and I'm just focused on monetization because that's what I want to be on social media for, you're probably not going to make any money. So I think that goes back to exactly what you just said. Let the fame, but your intention has to be so pure in your purpose that the byproduct of that becomes like the byproduct of my existence and opening my mouth on the Clubhouse turned into this many followers. And I didn't have a product to sell and I refused to go that route, but I do get business from it and it does make me look good and it does make me feel good. And yes, if I don't have at least 200 likes on a selfie, I might shed a tear, so I have all those feelings too. So I don't disagree with you, but I think for the intention of the show, the idea here is that if how you're approaching this idea of popularity or fame has to be balanced with the purpose of what you're doing. You want it to be a byproduct of your existence. So even when I had 1,500 followers, the people that followed me were engaging with me. It's better to have 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 followers that are engaging with you than to have 300,000 followers that are not, right? So I think that's important. I wanted to clearly state that you have plenty of things you'd be doing if that platform didn't exist, and thank
No,
God that it
true.
does.
And can I say something about your last statement real fast? Like,
Mm.
you're absolutely right when it comes to your platform. If you have built your platform on something that's inauthentic, it is going to be hella hard to keep up with that.
Mhm.
Like, we really got to go back to the root of like why we were placed on this earth, right? Are there things that we do every single day that are outside of our gifts and talents and why God has us here? Absolutely. But the reality of it is, if you are not true and you are not authentic and you are pretending to be someone else that you are not. And I look at a lot of reality stars, and honestly, even though people covet their lives, my heart breaks for them because I'm like, dang, you
Mhm.
gotta live up to this image that it's sickening because half the time this is not even who you are. You're being who people told you were supposed to be, right? And so to me, that's one of the bigger questions when we're talking about fame and fortune, Patty, is are you really, really being who you are? And of course, to a certain extent, we do have our own private lives, as you mentioned before. But are you really just in it for if you're chasing the fame, you're going to be chasing relevancy and looking for viral after viral after viral moment. And that is impossible to keep up with. There was actually a special on Netflix one time that this guy who made millions of dollars off of doing all these stupid stunts. And he talked about how miserable his life was because he couldn't drink another whole vodka bottle at the parties, but that's what everybody was expecting him to do because he built himself in this fake image on being this party guy. And he was like, he literally wanted to take his own life because he's like, I built this on false pretenses.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
two things. First thing I want to say is like you can't outrun what your frequency is, and so like I tell people like the subconscious mind is the womb of your reality. So if somebody is constantly chasing a frequency of fame and they're not receiving it, is because the subconscious mind is really where everything stems from. So they may be consciously chasing fame, but subconsciously they just chasing acceptance. Like exactly what they chasing. That they don't understand that. Oh, my parents didn't accept this, or when I used to play sports, nobody really showed up to clap for me, and I'm not sure how much. So you know what? I see other people getting clapped for when they go viral and stuff. So let me check. But really, subconsciously, just the thing that leads subconscious is the emotion, and that's why
Mhm.
people can't manifest either the right way, because when you manifest, you gotta internally shift to a degree where you're no longer like emotionally dependent on seeing reality change. Like you have to be like, I'm good with it, I'm good without it. This is exactly I'm okay. And that's the problem. People are so emotionally driven by certain things that is holding them. And I want to talk about what you were saying with about being engagement. So we deal with this company called Trova Trip, where we take people on trips or take our followers on trips and go to different places. We've been a lot of places. We just got back from Morocco, which was phenomenal, great trip. But the very first trip we did, so basically how it works is you have to get people to do a survey. They say like what type of trip they would love to be on, how they would like to interact, do they want beach, all that stuff. Before we even did that, we were just organically, because we love travel, we were vlogging our trip to Greece, to Africa, all this stuff, just vlogging. And in there we were like, man, we would love to take people on these trips because it's amazing things to see. And so when we did announced our first trip, it sold out in like 12 minutes to my surprise. But then I realized, oh, these people have been following our journey. They're attached to like, oh, yeah, we know y'all not just doing to sell tickets, y'all really be traveling. Y'all really out here traveling. And so when we were on one of the trips in Thailand, we met another girl that was doing the same type of trip. And we had like 17 people with us. And we were doing like 3 trips back to back because we had a bunch of stuff. And we met the girl. She had about 6 people with us. We were talking, and she was like, yeah, this is my first trip. And so I got about this many people to sign up. And she was like, is this y'all first trip? We was like, yeah. And she was like, have y'all done any, y'all gonna do more? We was like, actually, well, we got this trip, then another group's coming in after that, and then another group's coming in after that. And so she was like, what, really? But what surprised me was I went to her page and she had 210,000 subscribers, and I only had 75K at the time. So I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, she should have had more people on a trip, but I was like, oh, her audience wasn't primed for this. Like, she might have had the followers, but it goes back to what we say, but she didn't necessarily have the influence for travel. Or she might not have been, they might have been like, oh, she's just trying to sell tickets. Let me just, go with. So that whole thing is so interesting. Like, engagement, I think if people stop looking at likes sometimes, which we all do it, and just looked at how is my community engaging with me, that's the real fame right there. That's what you need. You need that engagement. You need those people to be like, hey man, loving what you're doing, like stuff like that. I think that's the real thing. But yeah, I think a lot of times people are subconsciously chasing something else, and it's not the fame. It's something deeper than the fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We
So
talked about this a lot on the show where
oh, go ahead, Patty. I think we're probably about to say the same thing.
I will say we talked a lot about this on the show about the frequency of authenticity. You're talking about the energetic realm, your the subconscious versus the conscious, and we have talked about this. I brought it up that authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than even the frequency of love. And what you just heard was a masterclass in how storytelling has an impact on the clients. And so you have the confidence to be online. You don't have a problem being on camera. You're telling this story. You're coming on this journey. It's like, man, I want to feel human. I want to jump off that cliff and hop into the water and feel like what Rome was feeling, because he's just being his authentic self online. And I want to follow that versus I've got a product together to put for you. And that works too. If there's a system and a machine and a lot of money behind it, and you're putting that and you're constantly putting it out there to have organic reach. I talked to the head of marketing at Masterclass, who's worked with everyone that has presented a masterclass, right? They're the head of marketing. So something to remember about marketing, especially on the internet, is that the content that you're producing or the ad that you're putting up is specifically targeted to people on the internet that are shopping for that thing. Someone that's looking for the cooking class, someone that's looking for the bike riding class, someone that might be looking for a brand new shirt to buy, right? So those ads are being targeted to those people. That's how the algorithm works. So if you're selling a product and you've got 25 people that are following you that are all your neighbors, friends, and family, you're never going to get anywhere, because that marketing is not, you're not marketing directly to the people that are coming on the internet looking for what you're selling. And the only way to build that, from what I learned from you here, Rome, further affirming what we've heard many times from successful people like yourself, is that the power of the frequency of authenticity is 4,000 times higher than that of love. It's the highest frequency that exists, and storytelling is extremely powerful.
Yeah. So what this is provoking, the thought that this is provoking for me, is that there's obviously an overinflated value on likes, right? Likes or that attention, right? So like, even if you could have, 1 million followers and only 50 comments, right? Or you could have 1 million followers and very little engagement, very little sales, right? And likely because you're not being authentic, or you're not radiating at that frequency for the people who need to find you, or whatever that reason is. But I feel like, the machines that do market, to your point, Patty, right? That there are machines and money being pumped into these marketing engines, and people are perceiving that as reality. And it's like, that's not reality. You're being marketed to. So I remember I did this. I was one of the keynotes at the Go Heavy conference in Anaheim about 2 years ago, maybe. I was the only woman that had a keynote spot in this whole event. And I remember talking about,
it's a fight, but it's okay. Hey,
it was an important one, because I remember it's an important thing to note, because I remember how I was received when I went up on stage. And I remember I had this whole plan on what I wanted to talk about, what I knew I wanted to talk about. And for whatever reason, it did not work out that way. I woke up that morning and I'm in the hotel room. My mom is with me, and I completely scrapped everything that I said I wanted to talk about. Like, I scrapped it. I rewrote it in that moment. And I said, because I realized I was the only woman on the stage. So I ended up rewriting, and I gave like my top 10 tips for new entrepreneurs. And one of my tips was to know when you're being marketed to. And I actually, I don't know, Rome, if you've been to any real estate conferences yet or any marketing conferences, But when you go to these events, you're outside these like big old convention center hotels or whatever, and there's like Lambos and Maseratis and like, you know, Rolls Royces parked in the front of the conference. And they're using that as marketing, like lifestyle marketing. And it's like one of my biggest pet peeves, because people will sell you on their lifestyle that they're living off the money that they're making from selling you products, not necessarily just the money that they're making doing what they're trying to teach you to do. And it's not to say that everyone's like scamming. It's not that. It's just this culture that, hey, if you follow me and come along on this journey with me, you'll have what I have. I'm never going to have as much money as Grant Cardone being a capital raiser, right? That's what he's selling, right? Maybe one day I'll have as much money as him, but not being a capital raiser, maybe being a marketer like him. And so I just feel like there's this really overinflated price, or, you know, on validation that it really isn't truth, right? Because at the end of the day, your followers aren't holding you at night. That's not who you're coming home to, right? That's not those chasing that vanity will cost you things, right? There's a price to that. It'll cost you relationships. It'll cost you authentic relationships. It'll cost you your mental health. It'll cost you your privacy. It'll cost you your sanity in a lot of ways, right? And so I just want to, I think if today is productive, I would want to leave everybody listening and who will listen to this to know that these two things, right? Authenticity is going to be the winner every single time, right? And you don't need external validation, right? You only need the same bubble that you always had. So I'm gonna bring this all the way back around. So from the very beginning, we were talking about Clubhouse, right? And I remember Patty one day, oh God, I'm trying not to say too much. We were in this group chat of real estate influencers, and this was all on Instagram. And there was probably, I don't know, how many people were in there, Patty? Maybe 40 or 50 of like the top real estate influencers anybody that you could think of that's a known real estate influencer was in this group chat with us. And somebody started talking about very luxury brand. And Patty immediately exited stage left. She was like, I'm out this group chat. And I was like, why? And she said, because if I stayed in there, I was going to say something that I couldn't take back. But long and the short was, we were able to see right through this person who apparently,
I'm just going to tell you guys, because you want to know and I want to be messy. I mean, they were talking about secondhand Birkin bags and I just couldn't take it anymore. It was just too much. if you don't got a rep at Hermes, I mean, like, are you really who you say you are? And I just had to leave that. Never went back.
Well, I don't, Patty, but you know, one of these days maybe you could connect me with yours. Okay.
I got you. Don't ever buy it secondhand.
Period.
Those prices
right?
you see for Birkins are completely inflated. They're not even that expensive at the store. Anyhow, we'll talk about that later. That's how you know a real one from a fake one. That's just how I operate. You know, I can't handle the fake conversation for that long. So
yeah, you know, that's funny. I had to unfollow a few of, especially in Atlanta. Oh, there's just a few these lifestyle. Hey, I'm hopping out the Lambo, all these things. I'm just like, bro, okay. And I think what made me do it is I actually was talking to one of them one day, and he was like, "Yeah, this is what gets people going. Is you gotta." And that type of marketing seems that fake it till you make it marketing is just kind of weird to me, because why would I fake it till I make it when God already gave it all to me already? You can only have what you already had. Like, that don't make sense to me. So I'm just like, I don't like this. So I just started unfollowing. I'm not doing this. Like, it's just, that's weird to me. Like, it's just like, because now you're just, let's go back to what we say. Now you're just making people want to just chase after this fame just because they think that this is what they're going to get, not realizing that low-key, the barrier to entry to be great nowadays isn't that hard, because most people ain't going to show up to be the person they're supposed to be. They're going to be trying to be somebody else. So the barrier to entry really ain't. It reminds me of this quote. I think I got this quote. It says, it said, general ambition gives you anxiety, but specific ambition gives you direction. And most people don't have a specific ambition. And I was like, that's so fire, because it makes sense. Most people are in this general realm, or I just want to I want to get on this show to do this thing, but nobody has a specific reason. Like, I'm trying to make enough money to take my family here to do this. Like, the barrier to entry is very low. Like, when people say it's so much competition, actually it's not. It's really not.
Right.
Because so many people are distracted by so many different things. If you can just beat distraction, you kind of already halfway in the game. Like, that's the most part. So anybody listening, if you think you can't get in, you can get in right now for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, because a lot of people are not willing to be consistent.
Yeah.
They're not willing to do the work consistently. You reminded me of a quote I posted this morning. Goals are for people who care about winning once. Systems are for people who care about winning repeatedly. And the
Ooh.
systems are the hard part. You know, you might get excited about, but a system is something you can really stay focused on day in and day out, even when you don't feel like it. A goal is
Yeah.
something that you can move the post on constantly with your mood. It moves around too much. So, Rome, I mean, I'm curious. I need to ask some personal questions now since time is getting a little bit short here. I mean, being that
Ooh-wee.
you're exposed,
There she
has
go.
your exposure on the internet enhanced your or given you more opportunities in your personal life? Are you in a relationship?
Good
We
question.
did talk about relationships last week, and this is a part of fame. I mean, you have women jumping off your shirt and stuff. Was your girl mad about that? Do you have a girl? Does the prospect become harder? Do girls get jealous? Does this make dating life hard for you? Tell us about it.
Yeah. It did at first because I think we started when I was 21. So I'm a 21-year-old
How old are you
man.
now? The rich aunties want to know.
Not 36.
You're not the rich aunties. You are terrific, girl.
As long as they can make a good batch of banana bread, you know what I'm saying? I'll be all right. I'm with that. You know
Who
what I'm
is
saying?
cooking banana bread? This is not 1925. What the heck?
First
I
of
ain't
all,
never
I
heard nobody
cook a
ask for
very
banana
good
bread.
banana bread with chocolate chips in it. Okay, I'm
Okay,
just
all
letting you
right.
know.
Now we talking.
We
Okay.
can even get the little sugar crust on the banana on the top.
Okay, Patty is
I'm
obviously
coming
the
to
cook, the
Lonnie's
chef
house
on
in
the
Dallas
show.
too.
But no, it was hard for a little bit because one, it was the candy store effect. I was just like in there and I was like, oh, now later, it's all sweet tarts, man, gummies, Jolly Ranchers. It's all kinds of stuff going on around here. And then you realize you're looking at shells of people and it's just like it's not really there, or you hang out. I never forget. My homie called me one day mad. He was like, bro, you won't believe this. I was like, what? Mind you, I ain't even doing nothing. I'm catching strays. I'm catching bullets from a whole nother. He goes, I'm on a date with this girl. First date. We in the middle of talking. She goes, I seen you post a story with Rome.
Wow.
Is there a way that you could introduce us? And
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's mad disrespectful. But yeah, go ahead and tell her to come over and introduce. No, I'm playing. I'm playing.
Tell the truth.
No, I'm playing.
I
But no,
liked it up until that point. I was like, what?
no. When he said that, it just made me realize, like, dang, so people will even go through other people, and it felt weird. So for a while, it was kind of like, dating is kind of weird. But then I ended up being in a relationship for like 2-3 years. That was great, and it kept me focused. I was like, I'm focused. I'm here. I know where to go. Like I know who I'm going home to. I know who I'm talking to, and that was great. Now I've been single maybe 2 years or so now, and so but it's been an experience because I've been on this journey with God. I've been on this spiritual journey that's been amazing. So I'm just learning myself. But yeah, the fame portion, I was like, oh, that's a real thing that these artists and NFL NBA players be talking about. Like, it's really hard to kind of gauge who does what. Then people hit you up and just ask you for money out of the blue. They don't even know you. They're like, hey, my babysitter is like $700 this month. Do you think you could help me out? And you like, what?
That's-
Like, here's the thing. I'm a very generous man, but I'm not Jesus. So that's a whole nother situation.
Right.
I'm not giving the bread and giving the fish. And I'm like, we can't do all that, but I'm down to help, but like not when it just feels like you looking for a handout. So yeah, but now it's been okay now. It's been great. I actually was going through what you were talking about, Jade, where you got to shed the identity of what you used to do to become who you're supposed to be. And that is a moment, and it's uncomfortable, and it's like you like, people still come up to you and like, hey, do you do the radio show still? Hey, what's going on? Or people come to me and they're like, hey man, when you gonna make another skit? When you gonna do another skit? How are you? And I'm just like, hey man, I'm growing, I'm in a different place. I'll always be me, I'll always be a funny guy and do funny things. And who knows, I can write a movie later, do stuff, but who I am is not that anymore. Like, you're putting a title on me, and I'm a human. I ebb, I flow, I grow. I might want to be a painter in the next 5 years. Who knows? Like, don't have to have this title. Titles have held us down for so long because the fame will stamp a title on you without you even realizing it. Like, that's why football players get out the game and all they know is the name on the back of their jersey and a football jersey, but they don't realize that name can be taken off that jersey and put on so many other different things. It's not on that jersey. So that is a hard part. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a big thing that people don't realize. There are people, influencers and stuff out there that still, like she said, still stuck like doing that one dance because they went viral, and now they're like, oh my God, that's not who I am. I really just want to sell houses, you know what I'm saying? But nah, go do that dance and then you sell that house, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
and to your point, it's interesting. I think people on the outside need to hear things like this because we put so much pressure on our favorite celebrity, on our favorite influencer, right? To your point, let's take the football player, for example. That football player now wants to go off and do real estate and continue to create legacy and bring in income for their family. And they're selling somebody in a house. They're like, why are you a real estate agent? What you doing here? I'm trying to work just like you go to work every single day. It's just my career path has now changed. And we put this insurmountable amount of pressure on people to, you can only do this one thing that I remembered you for, you know? And we have got to stop doing that to people because it really does have an effect on people's mental health. Like, you don't realize you're living for other people and what they may think, but you are thinking like, dang, I used to have this kind of exclusive opportunity. And now because, you know, my path has changed, now you're making it seem like I fell off. No, like it's just things change, you know, like life changes. People have to accept that things change. Everybody's not up forever, right? And when I say up, I mean even just the appearance of being these larger than life images, because it's not always what people think it is, right? But just because you have to go get a 9-to-5 or provide for your family doesn't mean you fell off. Like, I respect any human being that's willing to provide for their family by any means necessary. But man, it's a hard thing to do because everybody is thinking to themselves, when people see me, what will they say about me? What will be the narrative?
Right.
That reminds me of one last quote I had just thought about. It was like, when you are on the way to the top, everybody supports you because it reminds them of their dreams. When you're at the top, people start to hate you because it reminds them of everything they didn't do. And so then they start to tear you down. And it's like, that's a wild, when you think about it, that's exactly how it goes. It's like, man, keep going, bro. I'm excited for you. Do your thing. You made it up there. Oh, you're famous now. You let you sit up there for a while. They start seeing stuff accumulate. They're like, well, I mean, he ain't really all that. No, I mean, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because now you're reminding them.
Says that a lot. Speedy Mormon. I've heard him talk about that a couple times. He says that all the time, and he always says, "I wish everybody that didn't wish me well on the way up to fall down." You know, he jokes about it, but he does say that all the time. And I think you single-handedly helped us understand why Andre 3000 and Frank Ocean are the way that they are. That's what I kept thinking.
Wow, that's it. Rome came to preach today.
Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
He really
you were
did.
Definitely Rick Rubin with the quotes.
What, he was pulling them quotes out, wasn't he?
I keep a quote bag on me. Like, I got all types of quotes. I keep a quote bag on me because I think it just helps me remind myself sometimes when I need them. So it's good. Yeah.
It's actually evidence that you read, which makes you furthermore attractive. This authenticity that you displayed today is definitely, we can see why you have such a great following and such an amazing influence. And I mean that in a very platonic and friendly way. I do hope you come back to the show.
I appreciate
And
it.
I'm
But she is
serious.
gonna make that banana bread though.
So far, we know
Definitely
that you
gonna make that
read.
banana bread.
We know that you read. We know that you're making money. Now, are you over 6 foot? That's the $1 million question we can't tell over the screen.
I am a solid 6'2".
Oh,
Solid 6'2".
wow.
Yeah,
So
man.
you're a high value man. We need to bring you back for that conversation.
Wait. Hold on, Patty. You're not asking all the. Hold on. You leaving out. How many children do you have?
None. No children. No children.
Oh my, he's a unicorn. He's
we
a
just
unicorn.
went to the 0.02%. You're up there. You are up there. Look, please come
Stop!
back.
Don't scare my friend away.
Wait the play. He's a unicorn.
No. We need you to have the high value man conversation with us, please. We want to know what you guys want. We would like to cater to you. We're ready
Listen,
to make your
that's-
plate first.
That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother podcast.
Patty is
You know how many women are going to be looking up recipes for banana bread after this
episode? So I do have a question. I know we got like 2 minutes, so I do have a question, because if we're talking about like, you know, the overinflated value of attention and likes and all these things, why do men, especially, you know, the high value 1%ers, why do they go after these hoes? Like, why do hoes get chose? I want to know. That's what I want to know, because a lot of women go out and they become what they see, right? They go out and then they change their bodies, they change their intent, they're trying to go viral, they're trying to be all of this stuff, versus the authenticity, right, of who they were designed to be. And I feel like that goes really right in line with this conversation. That's my last question. And then, Rome, I'm going to let you get out this hot seat.
Why do hoes get chose?
No, because I think you posted something the other day on your story about, like, if you don't want a big titty bitch, don't date the big titty bitch, or it was something like that on your story. I don't know what it was.
Yeah, because the guy was talking about, you can't complain. Men are playing, oh man, she this and that and the third, but it's what you chose. Like, bro, like, what you saying to me? Like, oh, she's the gold digger. It's what you chose. And so that further tells me that they don't know themselves. Some men feel as if this is what they want. It's playtime for them. It's like, okay, she got a nice body, she look good. This is playtime. They're not looking for someone to help them nurture them, someone to support them in their dreams. They're not looking for that. They're looking for a quick fix. And that's the issue with social media in general. All of it is that you're looking for the quick fix. It's like, oh, I'm gonna have the nice night. It's gonna be fun. So a lot of men are stuck in fun. And it's like, bro, you 45. How much fun do you need? Like, we got to get it together, and that's the issue. So that's why I advise men to go on a journey for self, like a warrior mindset, to figure out who is going to come and handle your tribe, who is going to come and hold things together for you. Look for that, because when you 60 and 70, you think that's corny, bro. You still doing the same. There's men that's 60 years old doing the same thing as a 20-year-old. Like, bro, you corny. Like get your life. There will never be an answer to why some of those women get chose by men, because they've been getting chose since the biblical days. So I'm not sure if there'll ever be a full answer, but I think it's in each individual man, and I think they have to guard their hearts, like the Bible said. You got to guard.
David, they can get you.
And that's what you got to guard, because everything you want flows from it. Like, if you don't guard your heart, we're in a manipulative time. We're not, for the lack of a better word, we just not supposed to see this many bad women in one day at a time, to be honest. Or men, or anything. Our brains ain't supposed to compute with that, right? We are prehistoric creatures dealing with God-like technology and then trying to figure this stuff out. And that is a wild thing to think about it. That's the hard part.
I would like to thank the village that raised you. And for the ladies listening, if you thought this mentality didn't exist, here is proof that it does. Honestly, I'm giving you your flowers. If
Seriously.
you have an
I
uncle that
appreciate
it.
raised you to think this way, if you have an uncle that has raised you to think this way, please forward him my It's at Patty Goodspeed on Instagram. I am credible with approximately 15,000 followers, just in case that matters to your uncle.
And she will make the banana bread with nuts or without nuts. I mean, it's just like
Okay.
whichever way you
With
prefer.
chocolate,
It's all
without
good.
chocolate, the little crispy, crunchy sugar on top. I got you,
Okay.
Unc.
Bet.
And we'll have
Oh,
Ron
man.
back on next time, and so he can go down everything that he's looking for in a woman. So we do.
You've got to come back for the high value man conversation. You have to.
I gotta
Ron.
come back. I gotta come back.
Yeah, you got to come back.
Whatever topic you want to talk about, come on back, Ron. It's fine. You can come back anytime.
Well, thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate it, especially so last minute. We appreciate you. This has been another wonderful Wednesday on That's What She Said. I really like the male voice on the stage. I think it's really, really helpful. It adds a lot to this conversation. And remember, guys, don't be too swayed by what you see. Be authentic. Listen, I know way more people. I know a lot of people that have a lot of followers don't have a lot of money. I know way more people with a lot of money that don't have any followers. So run your race. It is yours. And this has been another week on That's What She Said. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Thank you, everybody. Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Bye, guys. Love y'all.